welcome to this next lecture session on the subject marketing management, and the topic that we are going to take today is diffusion of innovation and adoption process. That is again in the continuation with the topic that we have discussed in the previous time, last time basically, that was the new product development process. So, today I am here to take you further with the topic that is on the diffusion of innovation and adoption process, and I am Nishant Kumar Singh, Assistant Professor with Department of Management Studies at GL Bajaj Institute of Management and Research, Greater Noida. So, before we proceed further, we will just have a look at that what exactly the agenda that is there with us in the discussion today. So, the topic that we are going to cover up is basically what is the diffusion of innovation, and what are the various stages of adoption process, what are the factors which are affecting the adoption process, innovation characteristics. That sounds very interesting to understand and know that how the innovation characteristics that are influencing the adoption of any new products and offering that an organization is coming up in the market. And based on the type of the adoption pattern of a particular new innovation, basically how the adopters, the consumers are being classified into the types of adapters basically. So, that is how we are going to discuss and cover up in this particular discussion that is there in line with us. So, without taking much of time, let us proceed with the discussion ahead. So, coming to the next slide. Over here in this particular slide, we are going to cover about the aspect, and that talks about basically that what exactly diffusion of innovation is basically. Well, few say that basically diffusion is quite a scientific term that are being most probably used into certain scientific languages also, but definitely that same core concept is being utilized and being applied over here also. And according to an American sociologist and communication theorist, Mr. Everett Rogers, who founded and was the first to conceptualize the concept of the diffusion of innovation basically. It was he who tried to explain basically that how a new idea through a communication process, that how exactly a new idea which has came up into an existence basically using a communication process basically moves and spreads basically. That is what he wants to point it out and like to stress upon basically is that how an idea which has an innovation that has come up into an existence, after coming into an existence basically how that idea basically propagates and spreads into the diffuse or spread into the consumers basically. That means it is quite a different aspect that it talks about, that if an innovation or a new product or a concept has came into an existence, how it has diffuses to the consumer basically. That complete process of diffusing and spreading of an innovation to the consumer is what we are going to discuss in this particular slide basically. Coming to the next slide, that is okay. So, what exactly diffusion of innovation is basically. So, what it talks about basically that diffusion is an macro process, that it is a bigger process, and it is what exactly it is trying to focus and ponder upon basically, that it is concerned with the spread, or we have just said that is diffuse. How the concept, the idea, the innovation, the product or the services, the offering that organization has came up into the market, how it is concerned with the spread of the innovation from the source to the consumer. That means, if like suppose we will just take a look into that company has come up with a new product into the market, new product is there and product is being launched over there, being developed over here. Now, the company has developed it from the company to the consumer. That process that is being involved over here regarding the spreading of the consumers, regarding the spreading of the innovation from the company to the consumer, basically that complete process, the steps that elements that are involved over here, they are being called as the parts, or in the called as the diffusion of innovation process basically. I think that much is quite clear to know and understand. Let us have a look to the next slide basically. There are 4 elements of the process that we are like discussing right now, that is diffusion of innovation. That means there are these 4 elements basically guide you, or they becomes this a step in the process of diffusion of innovation basically, and they are basically, the first one is innovation itself. That means what it is trying to stress upon basically, that if anything that innovation has come up, that innovation has to be something which is like it's one of the important aspect and agenda that is required to be like to an idea or a concept to diffuse into the market. So, that is why it is a concept, activity or object that a person is, or a community or an organization considers to be a new. Innovation itself is talking about that something which is new, which has never been into an existence prior to what we are discussing, is being what is the new something together. And in the previous discussions, definitely in the new product development process, we have talked about that what kind of new to the world product and the new to the market, new to the organization. There are a lot categories of products were there that can be new to the for the organization itself. Over here, if we talk about innovation over here, so what innovation basically deals over here is that there could be there are 4 categories of innovation that we can think upon over here. There could be innovation from the firm oriented side. There could be a firm oriented innovation. That means what it tries to convey, that it is new to the company itself. That means the product which is coming up, the innovation that an organization is trying to come up is new to the company itself. The next could be the product oriented innovation. The next is product oriented. So, a product oriented innovation talks about that if it is new in the terms of its attributes, features, its style. That means if the product is coming up with new features, like suppose again I am going to take up with the same example, that like suppose if I have a pen, if I get an idea that I can change the color, a new innovation, this company has come up with a new innovation, that if I can come up with an like a pointer over here itself, by which I can default, and by default I can erase the thing whatever I have written. I need not to go and touch with my laptop to erase or undo the things that are there. So, if that kind of things come up in this particular product, that means it is a kind of innovation which is there in from the product itself, kind of an innovation, that the product within the product and innovation has been done. That means some more features have been added to that particular existing product, that what we believe in. The next could be the market oriented innovation. There could be a market oriented innovation. That means basically what it tries to convey is ki innovation, it is regarded as a new base that the market does not have much exposure of it. That means we are coming up an innovation into the market. That means that we are coming up with something, a certain sort of innovation, which the market to which we are moving in is not having an exposure of that kind of innovation prior to then what we are going to do. So, that is how we can say that could be another kind of innovation that an organization can look forward, that could be called as an market innovation basically. Last one is consumer oriented innovation. The last one is consumer oriented. What in the perspective of consumer basically it says, basically it talks about the aspect that a consumer start feeling that newness based on the consumer's perceptions. It tries to state that, stresses that the consumer start feeling that yes, the product is having certain identifiable, differentiable, valuable difference and innovation in the product in comparison to what they exactly it is they were in the market itself. So, that is how we can say that how organization need to focus upon to the different kind of innovation that definitely is required, because unless and until there is no innovation, we definitely can't look forward that we can see a change of response into the consumers behavior basically. So, that is why out of the 4 elements of diffusion of innovation, the one and the basic is the innovation itself. The next one is communication. The communication over here is a process by which the knowledge is produced and exchanged basically, as like we clearly understand into the different notifiable definitions of communication, that says that communication is a two-way process, where a sender sends a message and the receiver receives it, decodes it and gives it in a form of reverted back in a form of a feedback. So, that is how the response of communication has to be, but in context to the marketing, when we discuss about the communication is more about like sharing the information to what we are offering to the consumers, to the right set of consumer target targeted consumer segment that we are focusing upon, what kind of information. So, in that context we are trying to convey the kind of newness that we are coming up. We can just take an example of Jio. When the Reliance Jio came into existence, they started communicating about the kind of freeness, the free data sets that they are offering, the data plan that they are coming up, the recharges that they are coming up, the plans were offers were new. So, everything they started like bombarding with their advertisements onto the social media platforms, the print media, the broadcast media, the telecast media, onto n number of, and of course, the intensity of the promotion was also very high. So, that itself has given a lot of information to the consumer that yes, there is a new company which is coming up, Jio, which is offering a lot of free data to the consumers, which which were like initially was not coming up, or such kind of any existing companies were not coming with such kind of offers. So, when we look at that kind of things from the from the organization point of view, from the market point of view, we can see that was a kind of an innovation that came into it, and the organization has communicated the same innovation to the right set of consumer target consumer market basically. So, that is how the communication has to be done. Once the communication could be effectively done, then only we can share that and say that basically that there is an effective information that has been shared also, and upon sharing of the information only there could be only a kind of awareness about that particular product and services that we are offering. If we talk about communication, there could be communication can be of two types, that means between the market and the consumers. We can have the communication between the market and the consumer, and there could be between consumer and consumer. So, that means once we started, the one I was discussing prior when the company was starting discussing about through its promotional strategy, that was between the company and the consumer basically, and the next one could be that we talk about is C and C, that is from between the consumer and consumer, is when it is called as in very like formal language we call it as a word of mouth advertisement that we believe in. So, once the consumer who has started enjoying the services of that particular organization, they themselves start communicating about what exactly the company has said or promised is being actually delivered. So, that also help in like communicating about the new innovation that is coming up into the market. So, that also is a kind of an area where organization need to focus upon. Time involved in the process of innovation. The next one is time. The time involved in the process of innovation decision, the time taken by the adopters to implement an innovation and the acceptance rate through the social system. Basically, this time lag basically talks about the aspect that basically the gap of time between the consumers awareness about that particular innovation and the time it takes after getting an information about the innovation to the final placement of an order or acceptance of that particular innovation. That basically that time lags defined over here plays a very important role. That is being impacted with lot of social system. That is the next point that we are going to discuss upon. So, that is also a kind of an area that is playing a very important role in the diffusion of innovation basically, the time that is there over there. The last but not the least is the social system over here in the process of diffusion of innovation, and it says that a collection of interrelated social unit, example like we can say we being we are a part of a society, we live in a social groups, and there are a lot of social factors that are like impelling us to follow a certain set of consumer behavior patterns that we do follow, and there are certain choices of our behavior of like shopping patterns and behaviors that are like duly being based on the kind of society we live in, into the social system we are there, the kind of the background that we have, the organization where we work upon, or into the social system, the belief system that where we live in and we follow basically, that everything is contributing a lot towards the the decision that we make towards the acceptance of the innovation or not. Basically, it specifies the limit for a process of diffusion. It can be influenced by the expectation and the degree to which individual can impact each other. So, in the kind of society we are living in, the kind of social group that we are into a part of, the social group and the social system we are part of, that everything is contributing towards like the much acceptance or the rejection of any particular innovation that we come across, that companies are coming up and bringing into the market. So, that is how like we can say that these are the four basic elements of diffusion of innovation, that are like innovation, communication, time, and of course, the social system, because we are a part of that particular social system. the next step is basically the stages of the adoption process. So, now what we say that till now what we have discussed basically is that how the product has diffused. That means, there was a product from the company and it has reached to the consumers. Till over here it is talking about that how the company has taken the innovation, how the company has taken that particular what we have talked about the communication, we have talked about the time, we have talked about the social system. So, everything which was there over here. So, it is from the company that to how it reaches to the consumer. Once the information reaches to the consumer, how the consumer who takes up and gets that particular kind of information, how he process that information in the most refined way, so that he can come to a proper conclusion of that whether he is going to accept that particular product or not. So, that is where there has to be a clear understanding of that what exactly the consumer is like, how he does that particular brainstorming session of like we can say the evaluation before coming to the final conclusion of acceptance and rejection. So, that is the process is called as adoption process. So, let us have a look at the definition of the adoption process. Adoption is a macro process, it is a micro process in which an individual passes from the first hearing about an innovation to the final step of accepting or rejecting the new product. So, that means like once the consumer has come to know from like the innovation, the communication, the time, the social system, now the consumer has the information about that any kind of new innovation has came up into the market. Now, what kind of set of activity and steps that it takes to decide whether I am going to accept that kind of innovation or not, that complete process, micro process is called as the adoption process basically. Okay, let us have a look that what exactly that adoption process is. That is an around 5-step process that has been defined over here, and it says that adoption process comprises of 5 steps, and that is the first one is awareness basically. That means, when the consumer first hear about or they come to know about any kind of innovation or the product that is like new and is coming up into the market, the consumer becomes aware that yes, there is something which is new coming up into the market, maybe through the any kind of promotional effort of the organization. So, but lacks information, he has got an awareness about it, but the information over here is like he needs to know many more facts and figures before he can develop a kind of an understanding about that particular. So, he must know that what kind of needs that particular product is going to fulfill, how much it is going to cost, what kind of benefits that are additional associated with it, what kind of warranty, guarantees, what kind of additional features, what kind of requirement that he needs to have before it can comes to the point of like how much it is required to have that particular product. That every set of information that varies from consumer to consumer, because every consumer has a different set of needs. So, depending on the individual consumer requirement, its own needs has to be understood. Once that comes to the next step, and that is interest. Like once the consumer gathers the information and process it, it shows interest and gathers more information. Like suppose if an innovation came up and it's got an awareness about that particular product or an innovation that is there into the market, and somehow that innovation click to the consumer basically. That means the consumer is able to find that the innovation is quite appealing and it might be required for that particular individual. He starts gathering more information, maybe from its friend and near and dears, maybe from like doing a lot of research and development by on its own, like by doing an internal search or doing an external search, maybe talking to certain experts or by taking a guidance and assurance from the organization itself. So, after that particular thing, what the interest is being developed, start after gathering the information, it starts evaluating that particular gathered information in the so that it can refine it more and more in that particular thing. And once the that means once the evaluation is being done, there is a mental trial that has been done over there, and then the final trial does the trial to evaluate the value of the innovation against its perceptions. That means, once he physically may go physically also to evaluate the product, that how exactly the product is going to be. Upon evaluation, like one we do in the kind of like the test drive that we do for a automobile sector, we try to do a test drive. Once we go into the shop and we try the apparel, in the apparel segment, we try to wear up those kind of jackets that we are going to buy up, so that we can get that how exactly it is going to look at me basically. We want to drive that particular car, so that we want to know the kind of comfort, discomfort, convenience and everything that is associated with that particular car. We want to have that first hand experience with that. So, that is where the trial version is being required, and we do a lot of like trial over there basically. Once even the trial is okay, then finally there is a point of like evaluation of the parameters, whether it is fitting to my needs and requirement. If it is yes, I am going to adopt the product. If it is not as per my needs and expectation, is not fitting into my need bracket or into my particular parameter set of parameters to which based on which I am evaluating, I am going to reject that particular product and I am not going to accept it. That is how the adoption process is basically. The next one is, the next slide that we have is factors affecting the adoption process basically. There are different individual readiness to try innovation. That means, different individuals are having a different kind of, you can say they have their own personality traits, perception, knowledge, experience and exposure, and based on that they are going to try that particular innovation. And affects, there are certain other personal factor of an individual also that affects the individual to accept or not accept or try for an innovation or not. That may be the part of the personality. There are certain set of individuals who have very like risk takers. They try to have a look at the first hand look of that particular new product which is coming up into the market. There are, as we see, there are a lot of people who are like so keen that they keep a watch onto the first day first hand launch of that particular, and they do a pre-booking of that particular lot. So, there are certain set of factors like that. And then the differing rate of adoption, like there are different people who have differing rate of adoption. Few are like very early adopter. In the next slide we are going to see that there are different categories of adopters that are there. Difference in the organizations to try new product. Now, it has a different perspective. The organization try new product depending on to the market to which it is servicing, to marketing to the market to which it is focusing upon. Does that market or the community is having a progressive kind of an outlook or not? It is going to accept that kind of innovation or not. If it is not, then definitely the product is not going to be accepted. Of course, the another one is the income of that particular income level of the income group and bracket, and the increasing income propensity of that particular target market. The next could be the organization itself which is trying that particular innovation. Does that particular organization has that particular kind of market size growth rate propensity potential, the profit potential or not, or we can say the pressure to change, or we can say the other factors that could include that the executives that we have, are they ready to bring that kind of innovation on the floor or not. That every factors kind in terms of like adoption of the diffusion and diffusion of innovation, and of course, the final one, the adoption process. Now, the innovation characteristic influencing adoption. There are certain innovation characteristics which are influencing the adoption process, and they are that if the innovation is having these kind of characteristics, then only the consumers are going to adopt. They are based on these 5 categories, that they are, the first one is relative advantage. That means, if the innovation is superior to the previous one, suppose if I am coming up with a new product, is this particular product is better than the new version is better than the previous one, then only the consumer are going to accept that it is a kind of an innovation. Otherwise, it is not going to be accepted as an innovative product, and it is not going to diffuse the way it has been expected by the organization. Compatibility. How much the innovation is consistent with the value and the experience basically, that how much the consumer are going to feel more compatible to what is being communicated to the consumer and what they are exactly going to get basically. Like suppose if we are coming up with a new razor sets, like the disposable that we can, are they like going to provide the same kind of comfort to the individuals who are going to shave using that particular, say with the traditional one? If it is there, then definitely consumers are going to adopt that particular kind of innovation. Complexity, degree to which the product is relatively difficult to use and understand. That means, if the product is having more of complexity, of course, every consumer is buying a product to just satisfy the need basically. The need is it wants a kind of a solution to the problem basically. So, if the product itself is a complex, then there is a chance that the product is not going to be accepted the way it is expected by the organization basically. Divisibility, triability, basically degree to which the product can be tried on a limited basis. Like we get a lot of examples, like we get a lot of software that we can try on trial versions. We get the trial of the test drive basically. So that everything counts. Like once we get that first hand experiences, definitely I can get an experience how it is better than to what we are using right now. Then communicability, degree to which the attributes can be observed and discussed with other. That means the kind of changes that we are finding in the new product, is it the same or is it giving me a something identifiable, differentiable outcome changes, then only I am going to find it a innovative product and I am going to adopt it. Well, that is the last slide, and this is defining the type of adopters basically, like after the innovation, and it is again given by Everett Rogers, who classifies consumer on the basis of their readiness to try innovations. So, इसमें बताया गया in this they have tried to convey that how the consumers can be classified into depending on their adoption process basically, on the basis of their adoption, what kind of adopters they are basically. So, the categories are like they are innovators, are venturesome and they enjoy tinkering new products and are financially stable and willing to take risks. The one who is like very very sure about taking very quick decisions and are financially strong and they can they are very confident about taking risk, and whenever the new innovation comes they are ready to accept that particular product on a first go also. Like we see there are a lot of people who do a pre-booking before the launch of any mobile handset. So, they are the one who could be considered as an innovators. Then the next category is basically of early adopters, are opinion leader, less price sensitive. They adopt products that offer personalized solutions and good service supports. That means they are the one who take a little of time before taking that first hand decisions. They build and gather a little of information before coming to the conclusion of buying that particular products. Then comes the third category, and that is early majority. Adopt when the benefits are proven. Mainstream consumer adopt and when a lot is already done. That means they are the one who take a very conscious decision, conscious and a cautious decision basically before coming to the decision of buying of that particular product. They look around when majority of the people, like when the mainstream, or we can say till the product reaches to the middle class family basically, when everybody is enjoying that particular product, then they become more confident about like taking the decision of buying that particular products. The second last is the late majority, a skeptical, conservative, risk averse, price sensitive and technologically introvert kind of people who are resisting they are not ready to accept the change very fast basically, but they are doing it till the time it has they do accept the product till the time it has become like for them it is like it is do or die, they are like bound to accept it, then they finally accept the product, but till the time it is not possible, they are going to continue with the traditional outlook of theirs, and they are going to follow the same traditional product that they were being following. The last one is laggards basically. They are the one who are resisting change basically, and they have a very traditional outlook. We must say that they have a traditional outlook, and they do not find it, maybe they are not technologically convenient enough. They are like we can say there are a lot of like elderly people, they like we can see a lot of examples in our home itself, like our grandparents, they do not accept the change of like using the smartphones nowadays. So, like there are within in their category of age groups also, there are a lot of people elderlies who are accepting changes and they are using the smartphones. Like our parents, they were into the late majority, they were like now they are like just to connect with us, they are like bound to use the WhatsApp and the social media platform, so that they can find it more convenient for us to connect with their children basically. But they also accepted the change when it has become like very imperative for them to accept it. The laggards are the one, they do it like they basically they do not accept the product initially, but on a very last go like they are going to accept that particular product. That is what the categories of adopters are. They are innovator, early adopter, early majority, late majority, and finally the laggards one. And with this we are coming to the closure of this particular discussion, and I think we have covered up the the complete agenda that was there in the line, and we have talked about the aspect of that what exactly the diffusion of innovation is, its process, the adoption process of, and the factors affecting the categories of innovation characteristic that affects the adoption process, and of course, the categories of adopters that we can have. With this, thank you, and that is all from my end. Thank you so much.